starts quietly. No one notices at first. You're 7 years old, staring into the eyes of a parent who's falling apart. Maybe it's addiction, maybe it's anger, maybe it's just the hollow silence of someone too broken to show up, and without words, something ancient clicks in your small mind. If I don't hold everything together, no one will. This is how a child disappears, not physically, but emotionally. You start smiling more, crying less. You learn to read the room before you speak. You become the emotional thermostat of the household, adjusting yourself to keep everyone else comfortable. You grow up fast, too fast, and the world praises you for it. You're so mature, you're so responsible, you're so strong. But no one ever stops to ask, at what cost? This is the invisible grief of those who had to grow up before their time. The effects don't vanish with age. They shape you. They follow you into your relationships, your career, your sense of worth. And if you don't understand what happened, you'll spend your adult life repeating the same survival patterns that once saved you, but are now slowly destroying you. When a child is forced to emotionally support adults instead of being supported by them, psychologists call it parentification. It's when a child becomes the caregiver, the peacemaker, the therapist, the protector. And this doesn't just wound, it rewires the brain. When you grow up managing everyone else's emotions, you develop hypervigilance. You're always scanning for danger, walking on eggshells, watching for the next explosion. You learn that love is conditional, that peace must be earned, that your needs are dangerous and theirs are urgent. So you disappear, not physically, but emotionally. And in your place grows a version of you that performs well. The good child, the quiet achiever, the therapist friend, the one who never asks for anything. You wear that identity so convincingly that even you forget it's a mask. But deep down, something aches. Something hurts. Because the child you buried didn't die. They're still in there, screaming silently. Why didn't anyone protect me? As you grow older, the symptoms evolve. You might become hyper-independent, refusing help, pushing people away, convinced you have to do everything alone. You might feel numb during happy moments because joy feels unfamiliar, unearned, even dangerous. You might struggle to rest because productivity is the only way you've ever felt worthy. And the hardest part, you might not even realize you're still living in survival mode. When dysfunction becomes normal early in life, your nervous system adapts. Chaos becomes comfort. Stillness feels wrong. Peace feels suspicious. Love feels like a debt you'll have to repay. And you find yourself exhausted, not from living, but from holding yourself together all the time. This isn't just sadness. It's a form of complex trauma that reshapes how you see the world and how you see yourself. And maybe you've wondered, why would any child take on that role? The truth is, children will do anything for attachment, even abandon themselves. It's not a choice, it's biology. In the absence of safety, a child will trade authenticity for belonging. That's not weakness, that's intelligence, that's survival. But here's the tragedy. What saved you then is what imprisons you now. Because so many of us are walking around as high-functioning adults with deeply neglected inner children pulling the strings. We overachieve to feel loved. We stay silent to avoid abandonment. We care for everyone else, secretly wishing someone would finally care for us. And that quiet fantasy that someone might finally notice you're not as strong as you pretend to be, that maybe you'll get to fall apart and be held. That's not the dream of your adult self. That's the cry of the child who never got to be a child. The first step to healing isn't fixing, it's witnessing. Because until you allow yourself to say, yes, that happened, and it hurt, you'll keep gaslighting yourself with thoughts like, it wasn't that bad. Other people had it worse. I turned out fine. But fine is just another mask, and somewhere inside, you know it. So what happens to that child when they grow up? They become adults who never feel safe, even in calm rooms. They become lovers who can't trust softness. They become givers who can't receive. They become people who apologize for crying, flinch at compliments, and confuse exhaustion with success. This is the cost of growing up too fast. But here's what's also true. What was once a survival strategy can be unlearned. The child inside you doesn't need to keep holding the world together anymore. They just need to be seen, heard, and finally told, you're safe now. Healing doesn't happen by erasing the past. It happens when you make peace with it, when you let that child rest, when you stop performing and start being, when you learn that love doesn't have to be earned. You are not broken for having learned to survive. You are human. And healing begins the moment you decide that survival is no longer enough, that you deserve to live, to feel, to rest, and to finally come home to yourself.